Wow, that's
Yeah,
good, bro.
yeah,
That's good
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
This is
Veteran in the game.
2005.
So
Mm-hmm.
what? Give me a nugget as an early trainer. You know, a lot of guys trying to get into the profession now. What's a nugget as an early guy working with them athletes, or just in general? What's one of those things you kind of seen early that you was kind of like, that's interesting.
Well, when I was training, man, I had to get a lot of kids to start telling me about social media. Like, hey, coach, you got to start posting this, man. Coach, you got to start getting you a photographer, media people, and all this stuff. And I'm like, dang, I didn't know anything about none of that, because when I started out training, there was no social media like that. Everything was pretty much on its own.
Yeah,
it was word of mouth.
Yep.
But for the new age trainer, what I would tell them, man, is trust in your process, and believe in yourself. Don't look left or right in anybody else's lane. Be original. And show love to it. Like, don't look at it as a competition. I don't look at this training thing as a competition and all of this. It's a village. Everybody's raised helping these kids. Everybody can't be at one place at one time. You know what I mean? So whatever side of town you on, whatever state you in or whatever, be the best in your area. Like, just be the best. Like, whatever you do in your area, don't look, because I never looked at myself when I first started training. That wasn't my goal, was to be called the GOAT or to be called the best to ever do this, and all of that. No, I was just doing it because I knew that it was a need for it, and these kids needed it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You got 3 more minutes, D-Rob?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I still want to chop it up, man. I like we flowing. So, when did you start? What was your first experience with some of these guys that you trained and went on to the NFL? I know some of them you trained young. Talk to me about a few of those guys that really went to excel, maybe at college or something like that.
Yeah. My first dude was Jacory Shepard. Jacory Shepard got out of Mesquite Horn. He'd been all the way up through, and he went to college to play receiver, and then he ended up switching to DB, and then ended up getting drafted, playing DB in the 4th round. So that was my first guy that I took from homegrown. Him and Jakeem Grant. Okay. Jakeem Grant, Desmond Lewis, who went to school out here in North Mesquite, who ended up going to Central Arkansas, play with the Bills. So those are the few first guys that I started from a long time ago. From high school, like Rashard Higgins. I was getting those guys ready. Damian Gamlin, he had a little shot. Those were my homegrown guys that and they started telling their friends and everybody else, and that's how it started happening.
Mm-hmm. And then, how did some of the bigger guys, maybe some of the NFL guys, start to hear about you? Is it a matter of reaching out in communication, or is it a matter of you just building up that reputation?
It's a little bit of both. Building up I built up the reputation. I've gone to the NFL Combine. Like a lot of these coaches, a lot of these high school coaches, they go to a lot of coaches conventions. You know what I mean? Which is good. You need all that knowledge. But I spent a lot of my time going to the NFL Combine. Going to the Senior Bowl. Meeting NFL GMs, receiver coaches. Because I've been in like 5 or 6 different NFL training camps, being the intern receiver coach, just being around, just seeing it. Seeing the lingo, seeing the movie, seeing how they, seeing how they talk, So that's really, if you're trying to do what I do and separate yourself and stand out. Because it's a lot of NFL playbooks that you're going to be able to have access to, and route combinations, the route tree that you're going to be able to teach that a lot of these other trainers don't know because they haven't actually been in the building.
Now, D-Rob, I know you just said you don't like look at a goal and talk like that. Now, I ain't been around a lot of receiver coaches. I admit that, but I think you really one of the best in the business, bro. I think you're one of the best trainers in the business. And I want to segue that statement until I seen you on NFL Network last year down at LSU. Talk to me about that, because you actually had an interview with one of the, I think, NFL Network media personalities. What was you down there? Walk me about that process. It's maybe some nuggets on that.
Yeah, so I got Terrace Marshall ready for the draft, and he ended up going 2nd round at LSU. So he was with me for like 2 or 3 months throughout his draft process, and his agent, he sent me down to LSU with him for his pro day, with him and Jamar Chase. So I was down there with those guys, helping them out, just giving them that extra little support when after they run a certain route, look over there at me and thumbs up or thumbs down. You know how they look. You know, just to have that extra confidence behind them, both of them. Because I also warmed Jamar up and gave him a few nuggets before he ran his routes and things of that nature. But the reporter was Jane Slater, so she was asking me, questions about Terrace and questions about Jamar and what separates him from other receivers in the NFL draft. And I mean, she knows me from a while because she knows I work with Emmanuel Sanders. She knows that I work with Dez, Antonio Brown. So she found me when I was watching the guys run routes and came over there to me and was like, "Hey, you think I can interview you real quick?" I was like, "Oh man, come on, Jane. I'm trying to watch my guys." She's like, "I know, D-Rob. I promise it's not gonna be too long. I just want to ask you a few questions, man." She's like, "I owe you one." I was like, "All right, cool. I'll go ahead and do it." And so that's how that happened. And she ended up interviewing me, and I was getting a whole bunch of texts and stuff on my phone. See, I was thinking she was gonna interview me, they was gonna chop it up, and they was gonna air it later. You know what I mean? I didn't know I was live like right then.
That's funny, bro.
Live like right then and there. So yeah, it was cool.
Man, one thing I like about you, D-Rob, to me, you a technician. You the nuances of it, man. Let's get into a little bit of this training thing, because I've been already training many guys from middle school to high school to even a pro session before. I think it's a science. I think you like a scientist, D-Rob. And a guy can run around, he can think it's good, but you can say, "Hey, you didn't get low, you get it this." What do you look for? What's some of those little nuggets that you look for with that trained eye as a veteran in this game?
I look at their pad level when they're coming off the football. When I look at the arm action, how well are they really selling that they're running deep when they're coming off of this football? Are they holding any energy or speed back? And as far as the top of the route, especially on the 45-degree angle routes, I look to see do they have quick feet coming in and out of their breaks, or are they pushing off their outside foot? Are they running around their inside foot to come out of their break? Those are things that I look for, and you can really hear it because it's a little thing that I do with them. I tell them to speed their feet up, so I can just hear with my ears whether it's they're coming out of the thing in 3 steps or is it taking them 5 or 6 steps to come out of their break. As far as the speed cuts, the speed outs. The thing that I look for when the guys are sticking on that one foot, I look how loose they are in their hips. Like, can they really bend and drop and get down there to help decelerate coming out of those turns, out of those 90-degree angle cuts. So when they're doing a lot of speed cuts, that's what I really look for, how well they can drop their weight and not lose speed coming out of their break when they're coming out of it.
Good stuff. D-Rob, talk to me, how often should these young guys, let's say juniors in high school, how often should these guys be putting the time in, and what's a good route? What's a good way they can get better with their hands?
They should be doing this at least 3 days a week, 4 if they want to push it, but at least 3. They need to be catching the football every day, every single day. You need to be touching the football like 100 times a day. Ooh. Train your hand-eye coordination every single day.
Yeah,
every day.
Is it okay? So let's say a kid, he might say, "Man, I'm just by myself. Who gonna train with me? I ain't got to train. They need to train with their homeboy.
You ain't have no train. You can have your mom or somebody. You can have somebody underhanding it. You just stationary target, and you just working on until you get with somebody that can throw. But you're just working on training your hands and your eyes. You know what I mean? You got to train it. You got to be disciplined with your hand-eye coordination. So you got to train that a lot. Whether it's with a tennis ball, somebody tosses you the ball, you can still get good work in training your hand-eye coordination.
We're coming up on 30 minutes, man. Hood Scott talking with infamous trainer D-Rob, NFL, college, wide receiver, high school, all these training, all these. Pretty get ready to end in just a second, D-Rob. A few more questions, man. Where you want to take this thing? What are some goals, or what are some things you want to continue to get better in, or that maybe you want to come on the horizon for you?
I've been talking to quite a few NFL teams, about next step as far as me being getting close to being a coach in the NFL, or being a consultant for the NFL, coming in the off season, working with their wideouts, same way as colleges,